Notre équipe se compose de Lutz Dirksen, de 9 accompagnateurs et de 3 caméramens. Même en pleine saison sèche, le niveau de l'eau est toujours très élevé. C'est de plus en plus souvent le cas ces dernières années. Pas un seul banc de sable isolé où les animaux pourraient prendre le soleil. Apercevoir des anacondas s'annonce difficile.
Le grand anaconda, aussi appelé anaconda vert, vit à l'est des Andes, près des grands systèmes hydrologiques. On connaît bien la vie de ces serpents dans les zones marécageuses du Venezuela, les llanos. Là-bas, les anacondas mesurent rarement plus de 4,5 mètres de long. Leur proie préférée, ce sont les capybaras, les plus grands rongeurs au monde dont les dimensions peuvent atteindre celles d'un chien berger. Pendant la saison sèche, la savane se transforme. Les lacs deviennent de vastes champs de boue durcie. Difficile pour un anaconda de plus de 4 mètres de trouver un point d'humidité qui lui permettra de supporter la chaleur. Les petits spécimens ont moins de mal à survivre. Début avril, la saison sèche touche à sa fin et les premières gouttes d'eau se transforment vite en pluie torrentielle. En à peine quelques jours, les étendues asséchées se gorgent d'eau. L'anaconda retrouve enfin son élément de prédilection. De toutes parts, la savane verdit et renaît à la vie. Les anacondas qui vivent au bord du fleuve sont différents de leurs congénères de la savane. Ils peuvent mesurer jusqu'à 9 mètres de long. Contrairement à leurs congénères vénézuéliens, on sait très peu de choses sur leur mode de vie.
Notre première journée de voyage touche à sa fin à Riwa, le dernier village qui borde la rivière. Un monde sauvage nous attend ensuite. À la lueur du feu de camp, un vieux chasseur nous raconte la légende du matapi. Cet ustensile permet aux femmes d'extraire le jus toxique du manioc. L'idée en est venue à un chasseur alors qu'il observait un anaconda en train de se nourrir. Il a conçu une clé faite de lianes qui imite les mouvements de contraction du serpent en train d'avaler sa proie. Fascinant. Tout autant que le ciel qui brille de 1000 étoiles au-dessus de nos têtes.
Le grand anaconda appartient à la famille des Boidae. Il tue en enroulant étroitement son corps musculeux autour de sa victime jusqu'à ce qu'elle meure étouffée. Ses dents sont orientées vers l'arrière, ce qui lui permet de la maintenir, sans toutefois la découper. Il n'a donc pas d'autre choix que de l'engloutir en une seule fois. Sa mâchoire et son corps sont capables d'une extraordinaire dilatation. Comme il ne peut déglutir, il détend puis contracte ses muscles. Grâce au mouvement ondulatoire de ses anneaux, il fait progresser sa proie toujours plus profondément dans son œsophage.
Un groupe de becs en ciseaux prend son envol dans la lumière du petit matin.
In the wild heart of Venezuela, earth and water merge to create a landscape like no other. One that has bred many a legendary appetite. the early explorers who ventured into this savage place, no creature loomed larger or more terrifying than South America's giant serpent.
Anaconda!
Trophy hunters spun tales of 100-foot monsters intent on human flesh. And for centuries, this astonishing creature has been obscured by legends as tangled and dense as the swamps it inhabits. But now, a barefoot biologist is taking on the Anaconda. His mission? To snatch its secrets from the murk of myth and terror, giving us our first glimpse into the hidden life of the largest snake on Earth. Big snake, big snake. In the first scarlet rays of morning, a primeval world awakens. Birds by the tens of thousands respond to the siren call of the Llanos, flooded savannas that cover 1/3 of Venezuela. Months of drenching rains have waterlogged these plains, creating a Sahi Serengeti as vast and pristine as its African counterpart. But the dry season has begun, and herds of capybaras now begin to follow the receding water. These giant rodents, the world's largest, can weigh up to 140 pounds. Soon, this lush place will be a parched plain, so the creatures of the Llanos eat while the eating is good. But their idyll of peace and plenty is about to be interrupted. Curled in the water hyacinth is 30. Oblivious to her presence, the cat tastes the air for the scent of her rodent. At her strike, the Llanos takes flight, but for one capybara, it's too late. Her elastic jaws stretched impossibly wide, she now begins the ponderous business of swallowing her victim head first. She has paid a price for this meal. She's actually quite vulnerable now, but fortunately for her, the only creature audacious enough to tangle with a full-grown female anaconda is on the trail of another snake.
But there is another male.
Slogging through the hyacinth is biologist Jesus Rivas. Since 1992, he's headed up the very first attempt to study anacondas in the wild, a study funded in part by National Geographic. Before the study began, scientists knew virtually nothing about the biology of this shy and dangerous creature. Wildlife biologist Renee Owens joined Jesus in his slippery pursuit in 1996. The husband and wife team have caught and cataloged almost 800 of these giant snakes. Many are given names. This one they call Godzilla.
Ayun, Senor Whip. How you want? Hold it tight.
I mean, this is an animal that is the absolute master of the swamp. The custom-made animal for this place evolved to catch and kill animals much stronger and much tougher than people.
Oh, it's a big mama. Oh, 5 meters. Come here, get a better grip. Come here.
To work on a dangerous animal like this, potentially at least very dangerous, you have to have complete trust in each other, or you just can't do it. Because you can't go in and be worrying about what could go wrong, how you could be hurt.
Godzilla! We're having a ball, aren't we? Whew, it's getting rough, player.
What I want to do is to get to know what to be an anaconda is all about. and then we're going to study where they live, what they eat, when they breed, what temperature they prefer, which vegetation they like. Try to put on the snake shoes and wear them.
Wait. Oh,
Jesus and Renee want to observe the females during breeding. To do so, they must get radio transmitters into as many snakes as possible in the next few weeks. The force feeding may look brutal, but it's little more than an annoyance to a snake large enough to swallow a small person.
I'm on top of her. I need you to hold the head now, Renee.
Wait,
Will help me lower my hands.
wait. Okay, no. I don't worry.
Ah, you want to kiss me, don't you? Huh? I'm not your lover.
I'm trying to keep the female from getting away, and I have to do that any way I can. They're slippery, there's no traction, there's nothing to grab onto, so I'll just sit on her. I'll pretty much kneel on the body of the female because it's the only way I have to keep her in one place.
It is thrilling and dangerous work, but perhaps this female will lead them to the heart of a great mystery, the remarkable love life of the anaconda.
I didn't realize it was a rather huge animal. Name is Godzilla.
Les bateaux sont chargés. Un rapide petit déjeuner, puis il faut repartir. Encore 3 longues journées de bateau nous attendent. Notre objectif, un territoire inexploré situé en amont de la rivière. Il y a 2 ans, des chasseurs y ont observé des anacondas de plus de 6 mètres de long. Lutz Dirksen a l'intention de remonter cette piste. Il souhaite également réaliser la cartographie des espèces que l'on peut rencontrer dans la région. Plus nous progressons et plus la nature nous semble vierge. Avec un tel niveau d'eau, les caïmans noirs ont bien du mal à trouver un endroit où se prélasser. Les plus gros spécimens, eux, ont trouvé leur place au soleil.
Le caïman noir est le plus gros prédateur du continent. Ses mensurations, 7 mètres de long pour 100 kilos. Des écailles viennent agrémenter sa tête et son dos. La peau cuirassée de son ventre et de sa gorge est particulièrement épaisse et dure. Sa mâchoire supérieure est typique de son espèce. Toute dent qui tombe repousse invariablement. Les petits points qui ornent son museau sont autant de récepteurs ultrasensibles qui lui permettent de localiser ses proies. Au fil de l'évolution, les crocodiliens, dont font partie les caïmans, ont su imposer leur domination.
Après plusieurs heures de trajet, une pause est la bienvenue. C'est Lutz Dirksen qui tient le journal de l'expédition. Ses observations précises sur les espèces rencontrées lui seront plus tard d'une grande utilité. Notre campement sur la rive a éveillé l'intérêt des caïmans. Prudemment, mais non sans une certaine curiosité, ils viennent y voir de plus près. Une mesure d'intimidation s'impose. Dans l'eau, le caméraman se fait tout petit. La bête est encore loin. Comment l'attirer sur un banc de sable pour mieux l'observer? La prudence est de mise. Le caïman commence par suivre le comportement des vautours. Une fois sûr qu'aucun danger ne menace, il vient récupérer les restes de repas que nous avons disposés en guise d'appât. Le voyage reprend à bord de nos 3 bateaux. Dans ce virage, la rivière a creusé une profonde entaille dans la berge et coule désormais tout droit. Des vestiges de l'ancienne berge se dressent encore au milieu du courant qui se renforce. Les moteurs des bateaux sont soumis à rude épreuve. Les limites des rivières sauvages varient souvent, formant de multiples bras morts et des étangs. L'après-midi suivant, nous croisons une famille d'otaries géantes. Les Indiens les attirent grâce à un cri bien particulier. Nous touchons enfin au but. Il ne peut s'agir que de l'endroit dont les chasseurs ont parlé. C'est ici que nous allons nous établir pour partir à la recherche des grands anacondas. Nous remontons notre équipement aussi loin que possible de la rivière. Par temps de pluie, les eaux peuvent monter très vite. Sous les cris de protestation des singes hurleurs, nous installons 4 bâches imperméables. Une bâche pour la cuisine. Une pour l'équipement de tournage. Et 2 pour nos hamacs. Nous savons que les serpents et les scorpions aiment se glisser dans les poches et les bottes des hommes. Du poisson frais vient compléter nos rations de riz, de pâtes et de haricots.
Warmth from the sun speeds up Diega's digestive process, bloating her with gases and keeping her afloat. Jesus will keep an eye on her and return to collect her when she's gotten back her girlish figure. With the serpent sleeping off her meal, this part of Eden seems impossibly idyllic. But not all of the capybara's companions in the Llanos are as harmless as the snowy egret. For this is the land of the caiman, South America's infamous alligator cousin. For a reptile of this size, there is no more sumptuous meal than the giant rodent. The scent of blood in the water draws a crowd of fearsome scavengers from below. Red piranha gather, hoping for leftovers. But today, the hungry caiman will disappoint. He's not about to let even a careless mouthful escape his jaws. Twice a day now, the Anaconda patrol makes the rounds, with spotters on the roof, Renee behind the wheel, and her dog Chuka, an apprentice snake hunter himself, riding shotgun. It's been a red-letter day. 4 snakes already captured, and 1 to go. They've come for Diego, who's been digesting her capybara supper for more than 2 weeks. Jesus prefers to do his snake hunting barefoot. It's the best way to feel the slippery skin of an anaconda under the hyacinth. But in waters that contain piranha, stingrays, electric eels, and caiman, he's taking a considerable risk. When anaconda hunting, there's safety in numbers, and colleague John Thorbjarnarson sometimes joins in.
When we go out, never by yourselves, because these animals are big, and they are predators, and we are potential prey. 2 of my assistants have been attacked by anacondas.
A protesting Diego is removed from her refuge. Fortunately, she's still sluggish from her meal and would rather escape than attack.
Wow. Yeah, it's a nice female. It's beautiful. Look at those colors.
Diego is not nearly as taken with Jesus as he is with her. Renee puts an old sock over the snake's massive head to keep the teeth at bay.
Stay. Stay.
Be good. Sorry.
It's like mud wrestling.
Previous catches of the day are getting restless in the truck. It's time to steer a course for home.
Just don't squish the other snake.
Oh, not good. All right. Let me now.
Watch. Okay, we got like 4 other snakes in there. Don't squish them.
Put me in here.
There.
Yeah, my
Ready?
family.
With their home doubling as their laboratory, living with snakes has become a way of life for Renee and Jesus.
I think we can do the female first. It's 843, right?
843.
Okay, 843.
843.
Once inside, they begin processing the snakes.
Which is the number this? 800 and what?
Jesus marks each snake with a number.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Renee sketches their tail markings, the anaconda version of a fingerprint. It's easier than wrestling snakes in the wild, but it has its drawbacks too.
Living with snakes, basically, it really stinks. I mean, literally, it just smells really bad. They have this musk that smells. If you're not really an expert, it smells just like an animal that's been rotting for about 5 days. And there are times when we have in the house anywhere from 3 to 20, 25 bags of snakes sitting around the house with 4 drums full of big snakes. So basically, yeah, it stinks.
It's quite a challenge to measure a snake that you can't stretch. Stronger than you.
Diego measures about 13 feet long, a giant snake, but by no means the largest. No one knows how long an anaconda can get. The 150-foot monsters described in Brazilian news accounts are biologically impossible. Even the largest trophy skins don't approach that. But Jesus's most conservative estimate still boggles the mind.
This is an animal that can grow pretty close to 30 feet. The weight of an animal of that kind it is something like 1,200 pounds. We're talking about, I mean, this more than a bull, more than a normal cow.
Don't blame her.
Now cataloged and fitted with a transmitter, Diego is returned to the Llanos.
Yes, about here. All right.
Renee and Jesus bid her a temporary farewell, hoping that she will successfully mate.
So get your boyfriends. We'll keep in touch.
Be back.
We'll keep in touch.
As the dry season progresses, the heat intensifies, and wildlife traffic jams worsen in the remaining waterways. Capybara herds are forced to congregate in shrinking pools. And tempers run short among dominant males, with harems to guard. At the water's edge, a newborn gets a maternal once-over. But the mother is still in labor. There are more on the way. The impending birth has attracted vultures, but they'll play an unexpected role here. Unlikely midwives, they strip the newborn of its protein-rich placenta and squabble over it, leaving the baby free to take its first labored breaths. The newborns could use a few minutes to get their bearings, but the Llanos offers no grace periods. They've been noticed by a dominant male nearby, and his interest may not be benign. This newborn may be the offspring of the dominant male, or that of an upstart rival. Scientists have yet to determine what force now drives him to act. In a rarely seen display of violence, he passes sentence on the newborns and appoints himself executioner. No death goes unnoticed on the Llanos. Spectacled caiman bide their time. Instantly, the vultures shed their midwife ways for a more familiar role. Then the caimans lurch ashore for their share. An underwater cleanup crew will get the rest. Piranhas, drawn as always to a scene of carnage, work their grisly magic. Minutes later, all that remains of the young capybara are the bones. In a place where some lifetimes are measured in minutes, a lucky survivor clings to its mother. He may have no more to fear from his own kind, but the capybara's enemies on the Llanos are many. It's late afternoon in the Venezuelan savannah. Everywhere, anacondas are on the move, taking advantage of cooler temperatures to keep up with the receding waters.
Nous sommes en route depuis maintenant plusieurs heures. En raison des fortes précipitations, les eaux sont encore très hautes, au point que les branches gênent notre progression. Les animaux n'ont pas besoin de venir à la rivière pour trouver de l'eau.
Durant la saison des pluies, les anacondas suivent l'eau jusque dans la forêt. Ils passent toute leur vie dans les marécages. Même leur venue au monde a lieu en milieu aquatique. Dans le corps de leur mère, les embryons grandissent à l'intérieur des œufs. Lorsque ceux-ci sont prêts à éclore, les jeunes s'extirpent de la coquille avant d'être sortis du ventre de la mère. Ils naissent ensuite sous forme de petits serpents parfaitement développés. Ils sont tout de suite dans leur élément. Le nombre de jeunes dépend du gabarit de la mère. Chez une grande femelle, une portée peut compter plus de 80 serpentaux. Selon les légendes indiennes, les petits dévoreraient leur mère. Un certain nombre de serpentaux s'éloignent quelques minutes à peine après leur naissance. Ce sont déjà des prédateurs à part entière avec un redoutable instinct de chasseur.
Pour son bain de soleil, cette iguane a choisi une souche d'arbre. Nous tentons notre chance dans un petit cours d'eau. Aux aguets, notre capitaine a repéré un mouvement et attrapé le responsable. Un jeune anaconda. Il fait près d'1 mètre de long et est âgé de seulement quelques semaines. Sa première mue le rend quelque peu apathique. De retour à bord du bateau, le soleil se fait brûlant. La saison sèche semble enfin arriver. Il faudra toutefois attendre plusieurs jours pour que le niveau des eaux baisse. Pour se frayer un chemin sans machette, il faut suivre les pistes régulièrement empruntées par les animaux. Voici un boa constrictor. Nous sommes trop grands pour lui servir de proie, mais cela ne l'empêche pas d'essayer de nous intimider. Lutz Dirksen connaît bien le comportement des serpents. D'une main experte, il attrape doucement mais fermement l'animal derrière la tête. Le boa constrictor est un cousin terrestre de l'anaconda. Celui-ci mesure près de 3 mètres. Il s'agit clairement d'une femelle. Encore un jeune anaconda. Lorsqu'ils sont âgés d'à peine quelques jours, ils se montrent particulièrement agressifs. De retour au camp, Lutz Dirksen complète son journal.
Ces 4 dernières années, la Guyane n'a pas connu de saison sèche normale. Le manioc a même pourri sur pied. À l'origine de cela, les phénomènes météorologiques tels que la Niña et le réchauffement climatique. Des pluies torrentielles viennent grossir les cours d'eau. En quelques heures à peine, le niveau peut monter de plusieurs mètres. Les forêts qui bordent les rivières ont l'habitude de ces caprices saisonniers. Les caïmans suivent eux aussi l'eau dans la forêt. Même le tapir trouve de la nourriture sous l'eau. En plus des fruits et des feuilles, il est friand de plantes aquatiques. Il faut dire que dans l'ombre des sous-bois, ce gros ongulé peine à trouver de quoi se nourrir correctement. D'autres, en revanche, tentent d'éviter l'eau.
Au beau milieu de la nuit, le niveau d'eau a encore subitement monté de plus de 3 mètres. Nous sommes parvenus à mettre en lieu sûr la plupart de nos provisions, et surtout nos bateaux. Il faut dresser maintenant le bilan des dommages. Tout est humide, voire trempé. Même notre matériel de tournage doit être séché. Continuer ou faire demi-tour? Telle est la question. Si nous voulons rester, il nous faut un campement en amont des cascades. À condition de venir à bout de celle-ci.
Rapides et cataractes sont fréquents en Guyane. Ils forment un habitat aquatique à part. Les vautours s'attribuent les victimes de noyades. Dans les zones plus paisibles, les hérons se régalent d'escargots et de petits poissons. Les loutres géantes, elles, aiment chasser dans les remous poissonneux. C'est là également que l'oiseau serpent vient pêcher de petits silures. Nous sommes sur le territoire du jaguara, la seule espèce de caïman qui évolue dans ces eaux torrentielles. Il est nettement plus petit que le caïman noir.
Après en avoir débattu, la décision est enfin prise. L'équipe va se séparer. Un bateau va prendre le chemin du retour. L'équipe de tournage, accompagnée de 6 des guides, va relever le défi et continuer la route vers l'amont. Impossible de savoir ce qui nous attend. Peu de gens se sont déjà aventurés au-delà de ces cascades. Pour y parvenir, il nous faut des troncs d'arbres. Ils vont nous servir à faire avancer les bateaux tout en protégeant leurs coques. Chacun d'entre eux pèse près de 300 kilos.
Jesus and Renee savor these last few weeks in the Llanos. Soon, the rains will come, making fieldwork virtually impossible.
To work in the Llanos is a really unique experience. You can see, the shape of the earth, like an ocean of savanna around you. You have the feeling that those animals that are there were there before Columbus arrived to America. I feel like this is where I belong.
Skimmers grab a last meal as dusk descends. The evening slant of light signals rush hour in the Llanos as the birds head home to roost, further darkening the sky with their numbers. On a riverbank, a jaguar finds his last minutes of daytime rest plagued by flies. The big cat needs to rouse himself soon and find a meal. morning finds a massive female anaconda looking for an escape from the rising sun. The drying riverbed exposes muddy crevices among the roots. Cool, damp caves where a snake might wait out the last weeks of the dry season. But the best laid plans of anacondas are no match for Jesus and his uncanny knack for uncovering snake haunts. This is the domain of an anaconda named Marion, an old friend with a notoriously bad temper.
There's a snake here, guys. Yep, it's a big one too. Big one.
Big like Marion big?
Probably Marion big, yeah.
It's Marion. She'll come straight for me. She hates me.
Uh-oh, this is Marion already. It's
Is
not
it
body
Marion?
pole. It's not body pole already.
Renee will never forget her introduction to Marion.
Yeah, when Marion bit me, it was kind of a surprise because I'd seen Jesus get bit by snakes all the time. He might not admit that, but he gets bit a lot. It goes with the territory. I thought, well, it can't hurt that much. It happens all the time. He doesn't say much. And she bit me, and yeah, it hurt like hell. That's a huge head, just full of muscle. It's just pure muscle, and she got the smallest part of my body, and yeah, there's no denying it. It hurts a lot.
All right. Okay. See what? Where's yourself? Big snake. Big snake.
Marion has always made her contributions to science reluctantly. Jesus is convinced she remembers each capture and gets more dangerous with each encounter.
All right. Alrighty. It's her.
Marion is quite capable of killing a human being.
Okay, making the evil loop. If I let her wrap around me and history and gone, then I need at least 2 or 3 more people to unwrap her. Because once she makes the loops, she is absolutely impossible to undo. You can't just stick your hand between the loops and loosen them up. There's much to tie. So even if we had people helping me, they need to know what they're doing, because otherwise it's very hard to. It's a very strong animal. And also the teeth are shaped like needles pushing backwards. First the mouth holds, and then if the animal gets to make a loop around the prey, it doesn't matter what kind of prey it is, it's dead.
Anacondas can and do take prey the size of humans, and many a person's disappearance on the Llanos has been blamed on the giant snakes. Though no human deaths have been confirmed, members of the Anaconda team have been stalked and attacked.
So yeah, I have been sometimes, but yeah, doing the right thing, I managed to be pretty much have all my fingers and toes so far.
Over the years, cheers.
Yeah, anaconda have a very interesting personality. Some animals are normally oblivious, and we have caught them several times, and we know they're tame animals. Some of them. Some others are absolute bitches. They get to be really mean.
As the heat of the dry season continues to intensify, the reptilian residents of the Llanos bask along disappearing streams. Capybaras hunker down in what water remains. For the yellow-headed caracara, the capybaras are an obliging, movable feast of ticks. The floodplain that lured many piranhas away from their home rivers is now evaporating rapidly, trapping many. Stranded and suffocating, the once fearsome killer is helpless. No one knows exactly why caimans gape, but they might as well be grinning in anticipation. The crocodilians move in and put an end to the piranha's suffering. But when the rains come again, the carnivorous fish will have their day. It's now late May, 6 months since the Venezuelan savanna has seen a drop of rain. But a season of calamity for fish is a season of plenty for birds. Dozens deep at the water's edge, birds wait their turn at the buffet. Each species has perfected its own feeding technique. Little distracts the voracious birds from the feast, but an uninvited guest is about to get their attention. It's Diego, in search of a nice, quiet shallow for mating. Her arrival seems to elicit more curiosity than fear, despite the fact that anacondas regularly eat birds. It's almost as if they know that the snake is an ambush hunter and won't waste her energy striking at prey that can see her coming. Indignant Orinoco geese announce that this is no place for an amorous anaconda, and the stilts escort her off the property. Diego retreats, but with an anaconda's characteristic lack of haste, leaving this place to the birds. Eventually, Diego finds a suitable place to await her gentleman callers. It's likely that the female anaconda sends out come hither chemicals or pheromones so that the males can locate her, using their tongues as sexual divining rods. Male anacondas are much smaller than the females, but with these giant snakes, small is a relative term. He arrives to find the mating party in full swing, but he's undeterred. Several males have already wrapped themselves around Diego. It may look like her dance card is full, but sometimes a female will accommodate up to a dozen males in a breeding ball, a phenomenon Jesus is now trying to... Following her radio signals, Jesus and Renee are thrilled to find Diego has become the belle of the ball. What comes next will test their snake handling skills to the limit.
Not only is gathering information on these snakes not easy, but it is basically a race against time. Once the dry season hits, we're out there every day trying to find as many snakes as we can process. Once we find breeding balls, it's not like catching one snake. Suddenly you have 3, 4, up to 12 snakes to deal with at one catch. So that's a lot of work to do.
Back at the ranch, it's the males' turn to do their bit for science. Jesus takes blood samples for DNA testing. Eventually, he'll compare their DNA to that of the offspring to find out who fathered whom. That is, if all goes well and Diego has babies in the fall. But that's far from certain. She hasn't given birth in the 4 years Jesus has followed her, and she's up against the worst dry season in years. There's no telling when the rains will arrive.
Lutz Dirksen repère un cousin de l'anaconda. Il s'agit d'un Corallus hortulanus qui vit dans les arbres.
Ce boa de couleur verte est connu pour son agressivité, mais fort heureusement, il n'est pas venimeux. Lorsqu'il attaque, il se cramponne à sa proie. Au niveau de sa lèvre supérieure, on distingue ses fossettes sensorielles. Il s'agit de détecteurs de chaleur qui l'aident à repérer ses victimes même de nuit. L'anaconda aussi s'oriente grâce à la chaleur corporelle dégagée par ses proies lors de la chasse. Peut-être distingue-t-il le paca comme à travers une caméra infrarouge. Le plus souvent, l'anaconda chasse en restant immobile sous l'eau, attendant qu'une proie arrive à sa portée. Seul son nez et ses yeux dépassent discrètement de la surface. Avec sa langue fourchue, il détecte la moindre odeur.
Nous progressons bien plus péniblement que nous ne l'avions imaginé. À la cascade succèdent des rapides, puis une nouvelle cataracte, puis encore des rapides. Impossible de naviguer, il y a trop de rochers sous l'eau. Le doute commence à s'installer.
Dans le cours supérieur, les eaux sont particulièrement impétueuses. Jalonnés d'îlots et de rochers, de nombreux rapides se frayent un chemin à travers la contrée sauvage. Souvent, ils sont impraticables sur plusieurs kilomètres. Les jacaras ont compris que les poissons leur tombent directement dans la gueule pour peu qu'ils se placent au bon endroit.
Au bout d'à peine quelques centaines de mètres, une nouvelle cataracte nous ferme le passage. Une fois de plus, impossible de passer. Nous progressons lentement. Souvent, la voie se referme et il faut rebrousser chemin pour tenter notre chance dans un nouveau bras. Il nous aura fallu une journée entière pour parcourir 500 mètres. Alors que nous nous apprêtons à renoncer, le fleuve change de visage pour redevenir enfin navigable. Devant nous, la rivière se dédouble. Un monde intact nous attend. Le lendemain chemin, un nouveau campement est monté. Cette fois, nous espérons être à l'abri des eaux. Non loin de notre campement, nous tombons sur un groupe de capybaras. L'un d'entre eux arbore sur le flanc une tache rougeâtre qui ressemble fort à une morsure fraîche. Les rongeurs ne semblent pas gênés par notre présence. Ailleurs, ils se montrent plus farouches. Ici, ils ne redoutent que le jaguar et l'anaconda. Et puis, au milieu d'un enchevêtrement de branches, il est là, immobile. Il a pourtant perçu notre présence depuis un bon moment. Impossible de l'approcher.
L'accouplement peut durer jusqu'à 4 semaines. Les mâles repartent ensuite, chacun de leur côté.
Soudain, nous faisons une découverte de taille. Un serpent géant tout près de la rive. Même à 4, nous avons du mal à le maîtriser. Son corps n'est qu'un unique et gigantesque muscle d'acier flexible. Il doit avoisiner les 200 kilos. Il s'agit d'une femelle. Sur la berge, nous pouvons la mesurer en toute tranquillité. Un sac sur la tête devrait la calmer. Un moyen qui a fait ses preuves. Nous parvenons à la ramener à terre sans trop de résistance. Avec sa taille, elle ne connaît plus aucun prédateur naturel. Certes, elle n'est pas venimeuse, mais elle sait se défendre.
Tenez-la, pendant que je mesure.
Une telle géante peut infliger de graves blessures. Une fois refermées sur leur proie, ces mâchoires ne se rouvrent pas facilement. Solides, acérées et orientées vers l'arrière, ses dents sont de véritables crochets. On distingue parfaitement sa trachée située à l'avant de la gueule. Elle lui permet de respirer pendant qu'elle avale lentement ses victimes. L'anaconda fait jouer ses muscles. Difficile de prendre ses mesures. Cette femelle est nettement plus imposante que tous les autres anacondas que nous avons rencontrés au cours de notre voyage. Lutz doit s'y reprendre à plusieurs reprises. « 4,50 m. « 5,70 m. La bête mesure près de 6 mètres. Un sacré morceau. Lutz mesure la circonférence de son corps à l'endroit le plus fort. « 63 cm. Il s'assure que le dessin de ces écailles correspond bien aux descriptions scientifiques du grand anaconda. Ces plaies proviennent d'un marsupial. Il arrive que l'anaconda se...
The inland sea has become a mere patchwork of puddles. Heat and crowding are already taking a toll on the capybaras. The caracara, once a welcome parasite remover, has become a torment the weakened capybara has little energy to fight off. The bird feeds with impunity on the rodent's wounds, which were inflicted by rivals. Nearby, an opportunistic predator lurks. Known as the cougar, or mountain lion farther north in the Americas, the puma finds easy and abundant prey on the llanos. These are especially hard times for Diego. Now pregnant, she must choose her water holes well. Some will disappear altogether in the deepening dry, and she won't survive for long if she is exposed on the parching surface. Just 7 degrees north of the equator, with the summer solstice approaching, the Llanos evaporates. Scarlet ibises keep a close eye on their sometime nemesis. In waterholes turned sucking mud, capybaras wallow, and catfish struggle to breathe. With her water supply running dangerously low, Diego must now make an excruciating pilgrimage through the muck in search of shelter. But the conditions only worsen, and the next day finds Diego in the shelter of last resort, under the baking mud itself. Here, she will wait for the rains, which show no sign of arriving soon. Some pregnant females lie exposed on the surface, where temperatures can reach a deadly 130 degrees. Many will not make it till the rains come, and their broods will die with them, a fate shared by many on the scorched Llanos. On the parched plains of Venezuela, the horizon rumbles with the promise of rain. The scientists have left the flooded Llanos to the capybaras, not yet knowing if Diego or their other pregnant anacondas survived. Not until the rains begin to let up can a worried Jesus take to the air in search of his snakes.
When I go to find Diego after the dry season, I wonder if she had made it through it. This dry season was so hard and so hot that there was a good chance she could have had dried out.
But Diego has made it, surviving both the drought and her 7-month fast. She's claimed a bit of high ground to await the birth of her babies. Only then will she eat again. There will be other reptile births this season as well. All around, young caimans make their debut on the Llanos. The baby crocodilians emerge from their eggs, snub-nosed and chirping. Almost immediately, they set forth under the watchful eye of their mother. They are exposed and vulnerable on land, and waste no time making for the relative safety of the water. There, they congregate where their mother can keep an eye on them. Within hours of their birth, they're pouncing after their first insect meals. By night, Diego prepares to usher her own family into the world. Unlike the caiman and most other reptiles, she gives birth to live young. Diego has about 40 babies, representing about a third of her body weight. She also expels a dozen orange spheres, eggs that never developed. The starving mother eats some of her eggs. These will help sustain her until she's ready to hunt again. She'll also eat stillborns, hastily backing off if she gnaws a live one by mistake. Anacondas do not care for their young. Diego's babies are now on their own. Within minutes, the first of the newborns moves off, ready to take its chances in the Llanos. Perhaps half of Diego's offspring will survive. Even as the neighboring rainforest disappears, the anaconda continues to thrive in these flooded lowlands. This morning, the caimans find a free breakfast on the riverbanks. Diego's remaining stillborns, which are greedily snapped up. Some of her living offspring lie low in the hyacinth, doing their best not to attract unwanted attention. It's time this newborn snake went in search of its first meal. In fact, a baby caiman might do nicely, but to hunt is to risk becoming the hunted. Usually, stealth and camouflage render the anaconda invisible to the piranha. Like a root adrift in a current, the baby makes its way through the hyacinth. On rare occasions, though, an inexperienced youngster blunders into more open waters. Another baby grabs this opportunity to beat a hasty retreat. But the Llanos has not begun to exhaust its supply of unpleasant surprises. Like most cats, the ocelot's not a big fan of water. But he'll suffer a dunking in the interests of an anaconda lunch. Long before they're full grown, Diego's brood will be decimated.
Those babies have a tough life in front. They have a lot of predators. As much as the big ones have almost no predators, it's completely the opposite in babies. Nearly every animal can take them.
While Jesus gets acquainted with this year's crop of anacondas, they get their first taste of him. With each new generation, Jesus is one step closer to understanding the mysteries of anaconda reproduction. Like their parents, these babies will be numbered, cataloged, and DNA tested. Then he will return them to the Llanos with a mixture of trepidation and envy.
When I let them go, I'm jealous. I cannot dive so graceful in the swamp as they do and spend their life there. And I have this sense of, the kids go to college that all the parents have. And now they are on their own and they hope they do well.
Though science is beginning to lift the veil of terror that surrounds the anaconda, many of the giant snake's greatest secrets remain unknown. In the continuing search for answers, Jesus and Renee will have to probe deeper into the recesses of